What's up, everybody? This is CJ, aka the Lone Wolf, coming to you here from the Wolf's Cave. Uh, I'm trying to get my bearings. It's been a long week of this week and last week with work and everything. Just trying to get my mind together. But I'm always ready to talk sports. Before I get started, for anybody that's even viewing this, you see right below with Auburn, Oklahoma, quarterback who was popular for a little bit, Mike Hawkins. Before I even get started on just going through some of the games that I watch or peek through, before I went to and after I went to the Nevada game, I just want to talk a little bit about the upcoming Auburn game that took place last season. So this was our second SEC matchup since getting into the SEC, actually. Oklahoma got smacked around against Tennessee, not really having much offense to work off of and relying so much on the defense to even get any opportunity, and it did not work out, unfortunately, at the end. But surprisingly, just looking at the score of it, I mean, it could have been much worse, but the fact that the defense allowed, I think, only 23 points last year against Tennessee, to me, that's still amazing. That's still amazing to see out of it. And I felt like, if we would have at least had some sort of offense, we could have been in a better situation. So, all I could hope for is, can we get something on offense? So in comes this game. And just like the last week against Tennessee, they weren't getting much offense going. It was not successful. Our receivers were beat up. Jackson Arnold, who's now with Auburn, was knocked out of the game against Tennessee, so he never even got to face Auburn. So it was all Mike Hawkins for the entire game. It was the Mike Hawk show, but the show did not get started until the fourth quarter. And just like that, I can't go through everything. I don't remember too much of it, but I do remember Oklahoma coming back and able to get, I think, the last two scores, whether it was late in the third or in the fourth quarter. They got the last two scores to come back and win the game against Auburn. That was insane, out of nowhere, crazy. It was hype for Mike Hawkins. But for me, I wasn't really hyped. I gave him his flowers that game after that comeback, but I wasn't hyped up about it. Because you know why? They faced Texas the next week or so. And unfortunately, they got their ass beat. They got their ass beat by Texas, and I'm like, this is where the Mike Hawk show ends, because there was no way he was going to be able to get past Texas's defense. That's what sucked. And at that game, the defense had opportunities to give Oklahoma a chance to even be in this game with them, just like the previous season before. But it just never worked out. The offense never got going. They made mistakes. They gave Texas way too many opportunities to score points, which they did. They scored 30, which still, that was surprising. They only scored 30. They would have easily scored 50 for all we know. But again, Oklahoma had a great defense to go into that game. So this is what we're looking at right now. This is the matchup for this weekend. I have family from my dad's side, and I have a sister who happens to be Auburn fans. So it's going to be awesome to kind of see who Auburn is, what they're made of. They got a nice win against Baylor. That could have been the game that Baylor could have won. But Auburn definitely unlocked something in Jackson Arnold that Oklahoma failed to unlock. So I'm kind of nervous in seeing, what are we going to expect from Arnold going back to Oklahoma and facing his former team. So I'm plenty excited about it. But I'm not going to go too much into this. I'm not going to go too much into the past games that I was able to catch, watch, or even see the highlights of. Again, I was at the Nevada game. It was pretty good, but I'll explain that later on. So I just want to quickly go through these games that I was able to either see, watch, or get the highlights of. NC State, Wake Forest, I believe that was a Thursday game, and Wake honestly came out running pretty well early in this game against NC State. But eventually, NC State woke up. They were able to tie the game, and then after that, they just never allowed. I don't think they've allowed a point ever since against Wake Forest. But their next game is against Duke, and it's on the road, and that might be a potential trap game for them. So I'm actually excited and very curious to see how that game plays out. And speaking of Duke and Tulane, Jake Retzloff ran wild against Duke and against Manny Diaz's defense as well. It's crazy because the week before, Duke kept things up with Illinois until the fourth quarter. Tulane just ran all over them. They destroyed them. Jake Retzloff just embarrassed them. And I think I can't tell. I think it was. I can't tell if it was on the road or at home when Tulane was playing, but they ran all over Duke, and it was embarrassing to watch. But again, I think for anybody that listened to me, Jake Retzloff is cool. He is a good player, but the fact he ran all over these guys, it's insane. So they play Ole Miss this weekend, and I cannot wait to see how this matchup goes. Minnesota and Cal, a close game, but Cal handled their business. Jaren Kiawe Sagapalutele is showing something. You know, looking at Cal, a lot of people were thinking Cal's going to finish last or even close to last in the ACC standings, but they're currently exceeding all expectations through the first 2 to 3 games. And the fact that they have a defense, they still have some skills players, and they're able to play good defense per usual, knowing the head coach is a defensive-minded guy. I mean, this was a pretty surprising situation that Cal has been put into. Some of us were assuming Devin Brown was going to start, but then I was hearing about Jaren competing for the starting job. Didn't even know who this guy was, but he was showing up pretty dang well. It would have been nice if I was able to go to the Cal game for the third straight season, but I chose to go to the Utah BYU game instead. Both games playing the same week, so it's unfortunate. It would have been nice to watch back to back just so I can get an idea who this Kiawe guy is up in person. But hey, man, if Cal can keep this up and keep going, I'm looking at their schedule. It's pretty it's pretty fair, and honestly, they honestly could make a run for the college football playoff without anybody even knowing about it until God knows when. Their schedule is just that manageable now for them to actually go on a run. This would be a huge win for the head coach because we were not sure what their season was going to look like. Next up is Oregon Northwestern. Oregon handled business easily at Northwestern. It didn't seem like a problem. They pretty much cakewalked it. I think 2 weeks later, let me see, 2 weeks later. Yep, 2 weeks later, Oregon and Penn State, one of the juggernaut matchups in the juggernaut last week of September to watch. So be ready for that. That's going to be pretty exciting to see who actually stands out. Indiana State, Indiana, not too much. Fernando Mendoza was just on par, on point. He didn't miss too many of his throws. Didn't have many incompletions. I think he had 1 or 2 throughout, but he was just surgical, on point, up to the point, just overkill of Indiana State. Man, if Indiana is what we saw from last season until they played bigger, tougher competitive opponents, I'm interested to see how they face up against Illinois this upcoming weekend. I can't wait to watch that game. Arizona, Kansas State. It was all Arizona until Kansas State tried to come back in multiple ways, had multiple chances of trying to come back and win this game against Arizona, and they came up short multiple times. Their quarterback made too many mistakes. Definitely cost them that win off of that one for sure. He was one of the reasons why this team just did not win the game. But Arizona, man, they're bouncing back from last season. I think they were 4-8, if I'm not mistaken. But they definitely struggled last season. They don't look that way this season. And Noah Fafita and Mahi in that backfield, oh my goodness, they're dangerous. So, I don't know. I feel like Arizona, if they keep this going, man, if they are what I'm looking at right now, they could be the dark horses to get to the Big 12 title game. I'm a little nervous because I'm all about Utah and BYU trying to get there right now. So we'll see. We'll see. UCLA, Mexico. And then at this point, I don't think I have Va-Tech on there, but I might as well say Va-Tech and ODU. They both sucked. UCLA and Va-Tech both sucked. And before I was even able to get out that post for Monday saying they both have to do some soul searching after losing to Mexico and ODU in a horrible, god awful way, both coaches were fired. So I'm like, okay, well, this was coming, but the AD, the higher ups of that program were like, you know what, we're not dealing with this BS anymore. It's embarrassing. Losing at home, well, I don't know if it was at home. Like I said, I'm just looking over the highlights, man. I was outside of these games that were going on for a bit. But yeah, they had to replace some guys, but especially UCLA. I mean, you got Nico Iamaleava. I can't get it down. I had it, man. I can't say it here, but I can say it off air. I'll practice it. I'll get it right. The next time I'm on this will be the first thing I talk about, because the fact I got Jaren Kiawe Sagapolu-Tele real easily, no problem. But getting back to this. Yeah, UCLA definitely had to do some soul searching. You have Nico on your roster, so you can't be having that much of a struggle. But when you let New Mexico just beat the crap out of you like that, yeah, Foster does not deserve to come back as head coach. And same thing with Pride. You get beat by ODU. And surprisingly, not surprisingly, when ODU plays up against Virginia or Virginia Tech, even if they lose, they give it their all. It's something about this Group of 5 Power 4 in-state rivalry between those two or three. It's kind of weird. But ODU comes out competing. So I don't know. I'm gonna watch ODU a little bit. They got some guys. They got some dogs out there. All right, and moving on. Oklahoma Temple. I'm not gonna get into too much of it. They destroyed the hell out of Temple, but unfortunately, edge rusher DN R. Mason Thomas is out for the first half of the next game against Auburn because of his targeting hit. It was close. I just couldn't tell what to make out of it, but it's close enough to be a targeting, and it kind of sucks because we're facing Jackson Arnold. It would be nice to have Thomas out there to try and slow him down a little bit, but with how the defense played against Michigan, I'm gonna assume they're not gonna have many problems against them. But I'm just curious on seeing how the passing games go, because if it is that situation, this might create some trouble for the defense to slow down Jackson Arnold. So I don't know, but we'll again, I'm waiting for Saturday. So I'm excited. I'm curious. We'll see what happens with it. Clemson and Georgia Tech. Holy crap! God damn it, Clemson! You were my top 4 pick to make the Final Four of the CFP, and you're not playing up to that expectation. The run game is not sound. The passing game is not consistent. They can say Antonio Williams being out is not one of those reasons, but it's one of those crucial reasons when you need that guy to go to. And it was just not inconsistent. It's not all, and technically it's not all on the inconsistent run game. It's not all on the quarterback. It's not all on the receivers. The O-line is a problem as well too. So pretty much the offense as a whole just has not played up to what their expectations is supposed to be. And to me, they're playing part of the subpar right now. And unfortunately, this defense has to pick things up for them, and it's not like they were being consistent as well too. So at this point, this is what I think 3 seasons ago, where Clemson was struggling and Florida State was on top at that time. It's starting to kind of feel that way right now because Florida State's gaining momentum and Clemson is kind of dipping a little bit. But Georgia Tech, man, they are a physical ass team. They are built to play football, and I expect them to be competing for the rest of the season, because if they do it the right way, they might find themselves in the CFP for dang sure, and maybe the ACC title game as well too. Alabama against Wisconsin. Alabama beat the crap out of Wisconsin, but the Ryan Williams 75-yard touchdown was so sick, dude. He is elusive. I mean, this guy is just he's everything he does when he has the ball in his hand is just crazy, man. It's insane crazy. Buffalo, Kent State. Buffalo did win that game, but if you're Kent State, I would feel good about Drew DeShields. I think he's definitely the guy who can help Kent State turn things around a little bit to be in contention for the bowl game. Just I saw his stats and then I saw him play for a little bit against Buffalo. This guy actually has something, man. He's just something else. Like when they needed just a guy, just any guy, he just happens to appear out of nowhere and make Kent State competitive. So that's actually a huge positive out of them, especially for the seasons they've gone through. Like this is a huge positive moving forward. Mid-10 versus Nevada. Let's get back to that one later. Georgia versus Tennessee. I got to catch the first quarter, but I missed most of the game until I was able to catch overtime while I was at the Nevada game. That is an insane, crazy game to watch. I mean, I wonder how Georgia fans felt like this entire game. It felt like the game belonged to Tennessee. It looked like Tennessee was going to win the game. It felt like they were going to end, I think, their 9-game losing streak or something like that. So many opportunities. It looked like Tennessee was going to end it. And then, unfortunately, Georgia in overtime, thanks to Nate Frazier on that reach in the red zone, deep in the red zone, and just reaching in the goal line to score that touchdown to end the game was just bananas, man. I didn't know what happened. I thought it would have been a stop. I was kind of worried about the fumble happening. But then they had to review the whole thing and just find out, oh, yeah, he broke the plane in the end zone with the nose of the football, at least. That was the most insane game to watch. I mean, Tennessee was good for a little bit. I just did not know what to make of them going into this game. But they definitely have proved they are a good team. But their defense, however, they're going to be suspect after that game. You let John Stockton just armbar you and cannon you throughout the game because Georgia needed something. They needed something to get them back in, and we weren't sure who they were. But now we're finding out. Did I say John Stockton? Oh man, I'm sorry about that. I'm catching myself again. Gunnar Stockton, not John Stockton, the basketball player. Gunnar Stockton. When they needed someone, Gunnar Stockton was the guy, and his name is saying it all, man. He's a gunner, man. He's gunning it. So I guess at this point, moving forward, 2 weeks from now, we're about to have a cataclysmic game, man. Alabama and Georgia, and I cannot wait for that one. I'm putting down everything just to watch that game. I'm excited, man. But moving on, and it's Gunnar Stockton. I'll make sure to move on with that one as well, too. Pitt and West Virginia. I will now accept the fact West Virginia has hard edge. I looked at this, and when I was at the game, it looked like Pitt, by assumption, it looked like Pitt had the advantage over West Virginia. But when I look back and watch the highlights, actually West Virginia had leverage over Pitt before Pitt fought back and took a 10-point lead on them. But the fact that West Virginia fought hard and came back, forced overtime, and won the game, that was sick, man. So I will accept the fact that West Virginia does have hard edge. They are a good team. They are a scrappy team. They will fight to the very end, and Rich Rod has got these boys prepared. That definitely made up for that Ohio loss because, going into this game, we weren't sure if they were going to still have that same composure or if they were just going to be shaky against Pitt and just kind of like lie down against them. But it didn't happen. North Texas and Wazoo, not too much of a deal. North Texas destroyed Wazoo. But again, I talked about Drew Mestemaker. That kid is good. That kid is balling. He's playing so well right now. And North Texas hasn't lost a game just yet, but they do have a tough one against Army. So we're going to really see if North Texas is for real, going into AAC play, starting out with Army. And if they take care of business on the road against them, I think Memphis, USF, and Tulane have to watch out because this team actually has something. Like, they were good last season, But the fact that Drew Mestamaker was a former walk-on, I would definitely watch out for that one. USF and Miami, that ended pretty horribly for USF, but it was a nice run by them. I give USF a lot of credit for it. I just felt like Miami was the best team, and I think they had a 2-score lead at the time before the lightning delay. But then I was like, you know what? I don't think it's going to change much when they come out of it, and they destroyed them. So, it was a nice run by USF. Miami was the better team for sure, but I expect USF to be competitive in AAC play. Ole Miss and Arkansas, that was a nice game. That was a high-scoring game. I watched some of it. Who was it? Chambliss? Trinidad Chambly? I don't know how to pronounce that last name. But my God, he's good. Lane Kiffin is a QB whisperer, man. It doesn't matter who's playing QB for him. He makes them good. I could play on Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin for at least a game, and I'll be able to learn something out of it. At least, man. But Ole Miss was the better team. But looking at this game, I really don't know if Ole Miss's defense is going to be any good. Just with how that game played out, and you let Arkansas score that many points on you, yeah, it's kind of telling me that they're going to have a hard time stopping some better, not only just better offenses, but if they come across a good defense and they struggle, oh boy, that's not going to be a good one for Ole Miss to deal with. And they're in the SEC, so it doesn't make it any easier than it is. But Taylor Green, he's actually not bad. I give him credit for it. He got better this season than he did last season. Southern Miss and App State, not too big of a deal to mention over, but Southern Miss turned the ball over not turned the ball over, but they forced a lot of turnovers on App State. This is a good team. Their head coach, Huff, was a former Marshall head coach who pretty much was let go because, he wanted to be there, but there was kind of issues between him and I guess the program itself. And I guess they didn't want him back, even though Huff got him to a 10-win season last season. Now he's doing it with Southern Miss. Southern Miss is a competitive team. A lot of them came from Marshall, so do we call them the Southern Miss herd of Golden Eagles? Because they're playing as well as they should. Like they're still doing it pretty dang well. And Braylon Braxton, the QB, he's actually improving. The last two, before then, the first 2 seasons at Tulsa, he was about 50% or under on his passing completions. But ever since he got to Marshall and he played with Huff, over 60% of passing completions. So he was in a better he's in a better situation than he was before at Tulsa. So I'm happy for this kid. I'm happy for the coach as well too. I actually have him as my underrated Sun Belt team to potentially get to the Sun Belt title game. Like, I think just bringing all those guys in that was playing for that Coach Huff, I think that should carry on over, just like it did with Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. It should be able to carry over pretty well. LSU in Florida. Oh, boy. I think Florida's head coach is effed. Unless they beat Georgia, unless they somehow go on a run in the very last second and get a few big wins, I think the head coach is not going to be able to come back next year. So that kind of makes me think, and I'm going to keep it on the record if it does happen, I wonder if Florida's going to look at Alex Galesh after their upset over Florida, because I wouldn't be surprised if it somehow made sense. Like, he knows how to get those boys ready no matter who they play up against, even though they did get destroyed by Miami. But they seem to have continued improving and getting better every year that they have played, even with the injuries that have happened last season that caused the inconsistency. They were competing 2 years ago. Last year, they did compete as best as they possibly could with what they had available. But then just beating a former college football playoff team and a top 15 ranked team the next game that played in the SEC, to me, that's the huge marker for Galesh. So if Florida somehow looks at him, don't be surprised, but I'm not the predictor. LSU. So the defense is legit. We all know that. Outside of one of the Weeks brothers getting ejected for a very close targeting, like R. Mason, yeah, this defense is legit. The offense is not so much. Not saying Garrett Nussmeier is not a good QB. He has proven that he can play and he can put this team in a winning spot. But I just feel like they're not consistent. And I don't know how to explain this. I just don't feel like the run game is consistent. The offensive line has new players. You got to remember that one. So I feel like that's causing a lot of inconsistencies with it. Like even just that one time to where LSU did get a big run when Brian Kelly was talking about it, the offense is just inconsistent. So I would kind of worry a little bit about it when they get to tough competition, November. But as far as anything, at least we know the defense will give them opportunities to stay in the game and win the game. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Did not get a chance to look over the highlights. I got to watch some parts of that game. Unfortunately, it's on NBC, and I was watching like 3 to 4 SEC games on one freaking screen. So I got to catch some of it on my tablet. And I tell you what, that was a classic. I gotta look over A&M's quarterback because I wasn't really sold on him. But how things played out at the end when they needed a guy most to kind of like clinch this thing out, he might prove me wrong. But let's not go too fast with that one. I got to see how he plays against tough SEC teams because now I'm looking at Notre Dame. Their defense struggled, which is a little bit of a surprise. After the last game they played, they didn't seem bad. There was times to where they kind of had some issues and inconsistencies with their setups and stuff, but I thought they were okay. The offense for Notre Dame, I feel like they're going to eventually be okay. I feel like CJ Carr is going to get better as he goes, and he showed it out there. But what ultimately cost Notre Dame the game was the missed extra point. I think they need to forget about everything that happened prior to that and just say the extra point cost them. If they were to make the extra point, this could have been a different story maybe, but since the kicker didn't make it, A&M's going to be talked about a lot. They're in the top 10. I think they're ranked too high in my opinion, just to say. Or top 10? Top 10? Yeah, top 10. Top 10. Yeah. Before we get too far, let's see. Okay, I'm going to dig through Texas on this one. I'm going to go right through Texas. For anybody that's just listening, I'm looking at the site. Okay, yeah, top 10. Yeah, A&M's in the top 10. And I think they're ranked too high. That's just my opinion. But if they keep this going and they keep this run going and their defense can figure things out, okay, they are legit. But as of right now, they got a big win off the Notre Dame. That helps them out a lot. I'm just not sold on them right now. But as for Notre Dame, they're still ranked in the top 25, and I think that's fair to say they do deserve to stay there because all their games were competitive. They were close. There were times to where they had chances of winning that game, and it didn't happen. So, it is what it is. Just let it be at this point. But let's hope they bounce back because their schedule gets much tougher. And then we end things off with Vandy in South Carolina. South Carolina got boned because Lenoris Sellers went down with an injury, but Vandy came out playing. Pavia played tough. They pretty much just took it right to him without any hesitation. And this is what makes me fascinated about Vandy because of Diego Pavia. I loved watching Pavia when he was at New Mexico State. If he would have stayed there for another season, 2 seasons ago, I would have actually gone to that game in New Mexico. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. He went to the SEC, which is good for him because now coming into this season, he looks tougher. He looks more confident. He's throwing the ball with confidence, and he's got better. He's got to an extent. He's got a better roster, and I think the offensive line looks a little bit better as well too. I'm not saying they're all really good, but I'm just saying though at this point, I feel like this team could be a hard out. I got to see how they play against like tough opponents like LSU and Texas just to see where we're at with it. But just looking at Vandy, I feel like now they went from a team that just got lucky, or they're able to blindside some teams to where they're going to be a tough out. They can actually compete to win at least a couple of those games. And next to that upset against South Carolina, there could be another upset coming up sometime soon if they play it out well. And, Pavia's smart enough to stay healthy because he's going to be hitting people. Especially that one play. I think he, I don't know if he passed it out or optioned out, but he did get involved in helping with the pass block, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. So now I'm through this. So let's talk about the Nevada Mid-10 games that I went to. So I got invited. I went to that game. It actually was fun. I had a good time. Got to hang out with a couple of my coworkers from 2 different jobs that I work with, actually. So this is pretty surprising to see. But, I had a good time. Had a drink. Just had one drink. Yeah, but just, had a good time out there. Just got to watch the game. Got to see some things. One of my coworkers was kind of explaining to me what was going on with Nevada and their roster. They said they look competitive. They could be a bowl contending team, but there's just some things they're trying to figure out, especially the QB situation. So the game was good. At the beginning, it looked like Nevada had mid-10 from left to right, both sides of the field. Everything was working for them. They were forcing turnovers. They made things complicated for the offense. Even if they were moving the ball down, mid-10 just had some missed opportunities. Things weren't coming through. The quarterback was struggling. It was definitely a good time for Nevada in the first half of the game. They were up 13-0. But for me, I was kind of hoping they would at least get one more point just so they could be comfortable, because to me, 13-0 in this situation, it just doesn't feel like I'm satisfied with it. So going into the second half of this game, Nevada had the ball, right? They moved it down the field. They had no problem and everything. But once they got towards the end zone, they were at least maybe 5 yards or so away from it. When it looked like they were going to have a comfortable lead and probably coast through, they threw an interception in the end zone. And I'm like, fantastic. I think they're going to find their way back. I don't know how, but I've seen too many of this. Whether it's here or whether it's Miami last year or whether it's at Utah last year. I've seen way too many of this. So to me, that was a momentum changer. And eventually, Mid-10 was able to figure things out. They finally got things going on offense because of that quarterback named Nick Vattiato. And I did some scouting report on this guy. I thought he was a good player. He wasn't great, but I thought he was a good player. I thought he was the best player for Mid-10, especially since last season. There were some talks about him, of how good he is. I didn't think he was a mobile QB, but I guess it was kind of mentioned because I read through those magazines the past couple of seasons. But Nick Vattiato was definitely a 2-time starter for him. And just looking at how he played from start to finish, man, he put the team on his back. And funny thing, thanks to him, he brought this team back, scored the last 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win the game. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I witnessed this crap again. This happened just like last year against SMU, man. They had this game in the bag, but there's just one thing they could not do is just make a stop against the key player that was beating them. I talked about this with RJ Maryland last year with SMU at who was tight end. He was open a lot, including that game-winning touchdown, which was funny because it was opposite side of the field where I was sitting at when I was there last year. This time on the other side of the field, Nick Vattiato just pretty much torched Nevada's defense down the stretch. They had penalties that helped them. They had things that they had a lot going their way, including that last possession. Nick took it for himself, man. He took it for himself and brought this team back and won the game. And I said this to my coworkers, you got to stop Nick Vattiato. Someone's got to spy on him. And they didn't spy on him. And if they did, they were awful at it. It was horrible, man. It was horrible to watch. But it was great because I got to see what Nick was all about, man. It was cool. It was cool seeing him. I wanted to go to this game because of Nick Vattiato. That's all I cared about. Chubba Purdy didn't play that bad. But him and backup quarterback A.J. Bianco were taking snaps. And it's like, okay, I can kind of see what they're doing, but you got to have a quarterback figured out. Otherwise, they're not going to get going. They're not going to get hot. When you have them on the sidelines a little bit long, like even after like a few snaps or so, they're going to get cold. So they got to figure out their QB situation. The fans are all about, the Nevada fans are for Chuba Purdy being the starter. Me, as a guy who has watched quarterback play, I feel like AJ Bianco's the better QB to be in this situation. But you know what? It's just me. It's just me. Bianco's a junior. Chuba's playing his last season, so we'll find out and see what Nevada looks like next season. But I will say this, though. Coach Choate, for what it's worth, he promises that Nevada is going to improve each season on their winning record. They won 2 games last season. I think they won 3 games this past season. No, he won 2. Sorry. They won 2 games 2 seasons ago. I think they moved up to winning 3 games this past season. Now, we could have had 2 wins, but now, well, not only that, we not only could have had 2 wins if they could have held on, but this could have been the first time they would have been over 500 since Carson Strong was the quarterback. And I think that was back in, 2017, 2018, 2019 or something? It's been a long while. And I'm hungry for it. I'm hungry for the over 500 mark. So, Nevada, I will say this, they are competitive. And even in a loss against Penn State, I said this before, they were competitive. Even against Sac State, they were competitive. And they came back and won the game. They just got to finish. They got to finish. That's all they got to do. That's all they got to do. But I will be cautiously optimistic. And maybe they'll go 500. Maybe they'll win 6 games. Maybe they'll beat UNLV when they go 11-0 and, Nevada's trying to fight for a bowl game. They're at 5-6 and then they beat them and they get there and UNLV is out when they're in playoff contention, whatever. Who cares? Because Nevada beat them. I'm not going to put it on that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I would love to be cautiously optimistic it will happen. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about with this from this past, pretty much last week of week 3, week 4, whatever, But I will say this though: these past 2 weeks of football have been really good. It has been really good, especially with college football, because week 2 and week 3 is usually cupcake games, week games. Not too many big games to watch because they're just getting themselves warmed up before they get into late September, October, when the big time matchups start and the conference matchups start. And that's when the goods get good. Week 1 and week 2. Well, not week 1. Now I'm starting to remember. Sorry. Week 2 and week 3 have actually been very entertaining. It has not disappointed. It just seems like every game that I have watched from 9 a.m. to the last game like at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. or so, they have been entertaining to watch. Even some games at 7 to 8 have been entertaining to watch. And I had a great time watching all of them. Even if I didn't catch the UNLV UCLA game, UCLA really tried to come back to try to tie that game against UNLV. I just think college football is in a great place right now this season. It just seems like every team in every spectrum of this country is competing for something because they know they have a chance of trying to get into the CFP. They have a chance of playing in the conference championship. The group of 5 even feels optimistic enough to be in this situation. And I am so happy for this because we needed this entertainment for so long. It's always been about the Alabamas and the Ohio States and the Oklahomas and the Texas and the LSUs and the Clemsons and the Florida States. It's always been about them. And even the Notre Dames as well, too. They've just getting the lucky break because they had a weak-ass schedule every freaking year with probably USC or Ohio State at times or Oklahoma at times or Michigan at times. No, now they're playing almost every game that has some competitive teams on that schedule. I am all for it. And this is something we really needed because the NFL has always been entertaining to watch every single week with matchups from 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern time all the way up to nighttime from 8 p.m. or 11 p.m. Eastern time. This has been entertaining football for college football, whether anybody likes it or not. And the NIL and the transfer portal is changing the face of college football. Oh my God, it might be worse. It might not get better. To me, I think it's going to get better. The contract situation's got to be worked out. I think they need to involve a contract, in my opinion, outside of scholarships being, a written thing. But I feel like college football's in a great place. Up to this point, through 3 to 4 weeks of this season, there has not been a number 1 dominant team, a number 2 dominant team, or a number 3 dominant team. As of right now, Ohio State is in a great place. They look like the strongest team out of everybody. But as of right now, we don't know who is the strongest to be the number 1 team right now. And I am all for it. I love it. I love it. Even if people want to get rid of the rankings because it doesn't make sense, it gives us a little bit of an evaluation to see what this team is all about and if they do deserve to be in the rankings or not. I am still for the top 25 rankings. If they want to change it to the power rankings or something, they could do something like that. But I'm all for it, and I love it. I cannot wait for this weekend. There are some good games out there, including this one. That's just going to give us the appetizer for what we're going to look forward to the next week after that. And then after that, we're going to get into the conference games. And this is going to mean even more because now conference teams are going to really fight their asses off to get into the top 2 for the conference championship for the right to play in the CFP. The group of 5 is going to be involved as well, too, to have the right to play in the CFP. So I cannot wait for all of this. This is why I love college football. All right. I am done with college football. I'm glad I was able to come on and do this. It was a long week. It was a stressful week of work. But I'm glad I had the juice to just be on here and just talk about it with you guys, to anybody that's listening to it. I wanted to talk quickly about the NFL, even though it's not really a big thing to me. And then, I'm going to get going. The NFL is cooking as well, too. The first 2 weeks of the season is pretty good as well, too. My Niners are cautiously 2-0. Like as you see right here. A big-time Niner fan, long-time Niner fan. 20 years. I could even say 30 years someday. But, we're dealing with injuries right now, including Brock Purdy being out. But Mac Jones is a serviceable QB. But do not hype up saying that Mac Jones is going to replace Brock Purdy. Because if you're a Niner fan who believes all that, you need to get that out of here. You don't deserve to be a Niner fan. But anywho, that's my opinion on it. I kind of want to throw this out there, via my mom and my teacher, actually. The Toegate. Brock Purdy being out for 2 to 5 weeks, even though Brock is back at practice now. And then Joe Burrow also out with a turf toe, except for 3 months. Yeah, that's kind of weird. But I guess Brock Purdy's turf toe is like grade 1, which is not too bad, and I'm okay with it. I'm expecting the Niners to have a slow start. But Joe Burrow, my former fantasy football quarterback, had a grade 3 turf toe, and now he's out for basically the season. Unbelievable. This was the first overall pick QB who had a grade 3 turf toe compared to the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, in the NFL draft, to only have a grade 1 turf toe. Doesn't that tell you something? I think it does. Cincy, you got to do some soul searching yourself. That's why I love Brock Purdy right now. Okay? He's a tough son of a bitch. Even though Joe Burrow is too, this guy is a walking glass at this point. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. This was something that I was kind of worried about only because of the offensive line to start things out. But then seeing the comparison, I guess, through stats of Joe Burrow behind center compared to Jake Browning behind center, do you want to keep Joe Burrow? That's something you're going to have to think about. And then one more thing. Chiefs 0-2 this season. I don't want to throw this out there, but I do. You can be pissed off, you can laugh about it, or you can be sad in the reality of things. But my teach brought this up to me. And this made me laugh. And this, I don't know. You guys still have a chance. What, on Monday night? No, Sunday night. Sunday night. I think. Sunday night. I think, yeah, Sunday night. Sunday night. You guys, the Chiefs play the Giants, okay? The Giants are 0-2. The Chiefs are 0-2. And I'm just going to say this. 0-2 since Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their engagement. If they go 0-3 against the Giants and Russell Wilson. 0-3 since the Kelce Swift engagement. I'm just letting you guys know. This is something you got to think about, you know? And this is something the Teach decided to bring me up out of this. Is Taylor Swift the Yoko of the NFL? Just think about it. All right. I'm done. I'm done for tonight. I'm going to chill because I had a long day and week of work. But next time when I'm on here, I will talk about what happened with the Auburn-Oklahoma game. I'll definitely be sure to watch that game and many more. And if I do have time, I might talk a little bit more about the NFL because I just love talking about football. Like, college is my hugest thing, but the NFL is my next thing. Oh, before I go, whether anybody is watching or if they're listening, I have an Instagram username if you want to check that out. I do my sports stuff and I do some random shit as well too. And also my website as well because I do my sports stuff majority of the time and then I post some random stuff during the off season. But for the Instagram, I would say go to the Wolf 1225, and for those listening, all lowercase THE underscore WOLF underscore 1225, the Wolf 1225. And as for my website, Lone Wolf all lowercase lonewolf1225.com. lonewolf1225.com. Check that out. You'll get weekly updates on my power rankings. I usually talk about sports, and once every month I will update on the updated top 25 teams expectations going into October. For everything else, I do my power rankings for both the NFL and college football. It's my opinion on it. Everybody else has their opinion on it, but you would be intrigued of the top 12 teams and top 10 NFL teams that I pick into my power rankings. So, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to go relax, chill out, and take a break. But you all have a great night, day, wherever you are. And, yeah, peace out.